talk to you about a new mayor's housing commission that is happening in Norfolk. And the co-chair of this commission is Councilman Carlos Clanton. And this is a commission that's looking into public policy recommendations to improve housing affordability. We know that housing affordability is an issue that is affecting the entire state and the entire country. It is at the forefront of issues that so many policymakers are talking about. Joining us is Carlos Clanton. He is here with us. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk about this important issue.
I appreciate it. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah. So first of all, tell me the purpose of the Housing Commission.
So essentially, the Housing Commission's purpose was, I'll take it back. When I came on the council about a year and a half ago, the mayor asked each of the new council members, what are your top 3 things? And when I was going on the campaign trail, people kept just saying housing affordability. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
I can't afford. And so I asked the mayor, I said, how can we address this? Maybe we can stand up a commission so we can look at some policy things. And so the mayor said, I agree, let's do that. And so I've been working with my good colleague, Councilman Jeremy McGee, and we're the co-chairs. And this is set up so that we can look at all the things that we have. We found that there is a lot of resources, a lot of different programs that are happening, but they're happening in silos, and how we can better make those things work together. But then the other thing also is data. Let the data drive our decision making. And so this first interim report is really pulling back a lot of the different layers so we can understand what the issues are here in the city.
And I guess when you talk about data, you're talking about that 2023 housing study that was
some
put
new
out.
Information that we've gotten, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know that said Norfolk has concentrated poverty and racial segregation continue to undermine Norfolk's housing market and drive its affordability changes. And poverty in Norfolk is acute compared to the region and state for all population segments. That is something that reached out to me when I read that, just realizing the challenges there and some of the historical challenges. We can talk about redlining.
Oh, yeah.
We can talk about redlining and how that is still affecting us today. Is that something that's this historical significance of things like that? Is that something that you're also looking into?
Absolutely. One of the things when you look at the old Tidewater Gardens or Tidewater Park, if you've lived here all your life and knew various different names, that is some of the very first public housing in the entire country. It was right here in the city of Norfolk. And now we have Young and Terrace and Oakleaf and so many others there. But what that symbolizes is a concentration of poverty. And you see so many different things, which we've also looked at in the report, is that when you have a concentration of poverty, you also see a pull on resources and services to be able to support those individuals. And so that's another thing that kind of spiraled like that out of this whole looking at it was people first, which is a different way that we've looked at things, which is not just the brick and mortar, but we have to also invest in people. And so when you start looking at the historical things, I think that's where we've missed a mark in the past, but where we're making a turn. And so when you see all these great buildings going up in the new St. Paul's quadrant, it's not just the building, but you see great success stories that are coming out about the residents who are coming back.
Yeah, and how's that project moving along?
It's moving along real well. We'll
Yeah.
be done in a year and a half. We just cut the ribbon maybe about a week and a half ago on Unity Place. And that's and the neat part about it is that it is a mixed income community. You've got market rate, as well as individuals who are subsidized. But the thing about it is you can't tell who's who. And that's the way it should be. Giving people the opportunity to have mobility, economic mobility, so that wherever you are, you should be able to afford all the benefits of a quality neighborhood and being able to be close to downtown. But as your income goes up, you don't have to leave your neighborhood. You can actually just move your situation as to how we're subsidizing and supporting your housing.
How do you define affordable housing?
Oh, wow. That's one of the things that's challenging because even in our study, they wanted to use housing affordability as something from the state's definition. I'm actually pressing that we do something a little bit more localized to Norfolk. But nationally, they would tell you that housing affordability is looking at 30% of your take-home. If 30% of your take-home pay or below, then you're not stressed. But if you're over that 30% of your take-home pay, then you are stressed as far as your housing affordability.
It's nice to hear, because one of the criticisms that I do hear about Norfolk, some people think, they concentrate too much downtown. You see all these apartment buildings going up, and they cost the rent is pretty high,
Yeah.
close to 2,000 sometimes for a one bedroom. How do you spread that out? How do you make sure that this love is going to all the neighborhoods in the city?
And that's another thing that will be a byproduct of the actual policy that we're going to put in place in the fall. I hear that as well. I represent Super Ward 7, which is the other side of town. I get a Park Place and Lambert's Point, but really the east side of the city. And so when you look at this, St. Paul's really is taking up a lot of the funding for housing. It was the first time we went into a massive kind of one-time going in, doing this transformation. But what it's going to allow us to do, and I like to be a person who is a planner, and rather than being reactive. And so this policy is going to allow us to get council, for one, on the same page, because there are different thoughts of, I only want to see market rate, or I want to see more affordable housing, but how can we find something in the middle? But then it will, when we drive the policy and council can approve that, then it will drive the budget. And so when we finish with St. Paul's in a year and a half from now, that will put us in a position to be able to talk about the other things that we can fund that will support housing affordability across the entire city.
Okay, absolutely. And something that also is concerning, because you talk about money,
Yep.
$4.5 million. That's the community development, block grant money that Norfolk gets each year?
Correct.
And that is on the chopping block in this latest budget by the Trump administration, and as well as some other, housing programs. How do you combat that? That has to be a challenge.
That's something that keeps me up at night.
Okay.
Because in our city manager, because you look at so many different things that those funds are used to support. Housing vouchers. And, I was mentioning some other individuals that housing vouchers, even myself, I benefited from that. My mother benefited from a housing voucher. We stayed in a 2-bedroom duplex growing up until my freshman year in high school. My mother finally got off the waiting list and she got her housing voucher, and it was the first time I got my own bedroom, and my sister and my brother had their own rooms. And it was just that sense of being able to have a home that we could be proud of, and just to be able to go have a good night's sleep. But when you think about what's on the chopping block, there are going to be a lot of individuals who just cannot afford and will not have that ability to have that extra funding, that voucher to fill in the gap. Children are not going to be able to have the ability to have a place that they can call home and go to sleep at night. Some of our rehab programs, that's another thing, because it's not about just building new housing. It's also about being able to have funding in place so that we can have our naturally occurring housing, which is rehabbing some of the older housing stock that we have, which could become first-time homeowner opportunities for individuals. So it is something that consistently, that's why of all my council colleagues, I'm the one that's traveling, going to the conferences, connecting. But I would also say that there are a group of local elected officials like myself from surrounding cities who are meeting, and we're talking, and we're trying to work out how we can come together to really move something meaningful forward for housing.
I imagine, how do you approach the Trump administration? Because I think, some of the things that I've read, that they're looking at this as falling under diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we know that we have seen a very aggressive pushback on DEI. And so programs that they feel like benefit DEI that fall into that category, those are the ones that are being targeted. And I guess it can leave you just feeling, I guess to some extent, helpless, but you all are working to get around that.
We're working to get around that. I will also say that in many cases, when you look at what the Trump administration pushes forth on those, you'll see a lot of that DEI concentrated around urban centers. But when you start looking at some of your rural areas and individuals who also benefit from there, that's where you see a lot of pushback from even his own party, because it's not the normal, what you would try to say, DEI that they're pushing. I will say, as far as on a local level, it takes money. And so when you're not trying to increase taxes, gas is high, food is high, all these different things, you got to find different mechanisms. And so there's been talk about how do we work with HRV, with the Hampton Roads, with a redevelopment housing authority, which is their for-profit arm there, to be able to do some funding. There's even a discussion about, in this plan, establishing a housing trust fund. because there are ways that we can be able to put in public dollars, but then leverage money that banks have and credit unions have and others to be able to help support housing. So we're trying to be very innovative. And one of the things I consistently say is that I don't want to be prescriptive. I don't want to be so restrictive in a way that saying you have to do this, but create those guardrails, create our non-negotiables, and allow business and industry and those who work in this space to say, here are all the tools. How can you fix it for us? And allow them to come back who do this every day.
Yeah, every day. And what does that do for a person? I mean, when you are finally able to get the keys to a home, you know, all of a sudden, it's not just about your living conditions and having something that you can call your own. It's about self-pride. It's about self-confidence. It is about, talk a little bit about that.
I will say, I want to, we have our programs with the city, but a long-standing program, Habitat for Humanity, built 2 homes in my ward. And just to see the parents, and you have to put your sweat equity in there. So you have to come out, do your service hours, but they partner with the city to be able to help with the financing to get those things in place. But to see those parents, to see those mothers, that father that may be there, and the children. And I literally walked with one of the littlest ones who was showing me this is where my room is going to be. And I can't help to say that I had a flashback going, wow, I remember when I could say this is where my room is going to be. So you do have that sense of pride. But I think it's also some of the things that go back into this report. The report highlighted the fact that 56% of the residents in the city of Norfolk are renters.
Right.
We also have over 48% of all of the subsidized housing in the entire region is right here in the city of Norfolk.
Right here.
So when we look at that, it's like, okay, data has given us, this is our point. And so we've talked about even at a commission level, so how do we measure success? And the thing is that we want more home ownership opportunity. The reality also is that homes in the city of Norfolk that's 98% built out isn't going to be a house on an acre of land. It's going to be more of our missing middle. So you're going to have condos and maybe 3 stacked up type of apartments or condos in that respect, or even just some innovative ways of being able to create I know I was in Nashville, and they call them tall and skinnies, where you've got these smaller, but they're taller, 3-story type of buildings. So ways that we can create density, but also create opportunities for home ownership. I also will put out there, Janet, did you know that you could use a Section 8 voucher to pay for a mortgage?
No, I did not know that. No.
So there's a whole program in place where individuals can use their Section 8 voucher to pay for a mortgage. They go through an entire training to teach them about finance, credit, to get them. These are individuals, again, who were living in subsidized housing, but they're going through the process so that they can be able to be a homeowner because they understand that generational wealth and that opportunity. But the challenge around that, though, is that you got to have that house in about 250, 280,000 range. And we just don't have enough housing stock. And so that's the other thing that we've got to address is like we've got great programs, we can make those things work, but we got to make sure that we can build homes that are in that price range so that people can afford them.
Right. How are you working with the state? I do know that when Spanberger came in, that was on her list, housing affordability and trying to increase supply. And maybe changing some of the zoning regulations to have more places where you can build houses. I mean, how is that working out?
We're still assessing, but I will say that there are some bright spots in there. There were some things that were a little concerning, but there were some things that are great bright spots. One of those being the faith-based opportunity. We have a lot of our, you think about it, maybe a little bit more than Norfolk, but you have a lot of churches that own land. But there's a bill that went through that would allow them by right to be able to do housing on land that they already own. And I've already been approached by several churches here who are looking at being able to do that because we have a big shortage in affordable senior housing. And I also see that as that part of that ecosystem. We have some seniors who, your child or your children have left the area. They're clear across the country. They're not probably coming back over here, but you want to downsize, be able to sell that home, but you just want to have a sense of community and to have somewhere where you can, spend your good days and have a sense of community. So building some senior housing is a great opportunity for us, and it's one of the things that I also look at because we talked about school consolidation and closure in Norfolk public schools.
Right.
Well, we're not going to put commercial things right in the middle of a neighborhood. I think that those are great opportunities to build senior housing within a neighborhood, because you could have someone who actually had a house down the street who could sell that home, move into this new community here with other seniors, and that house now can become a first-time home opportunity for a family.
Yeah, and it's keeping the seniors in their community, the
Exactly.
community where they have built some roots and good connections and relationships, where they feel safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're not trying to kick people out. And I think that's one of the misnomers, that when people hear about change or they see things are moving, you see all that work that's happening in the old Tower of the Gardens, and you see St. Paul's, well, we're kicking all these people out.
Right.
And it's not the case. What we have said is that people first was the plan in the program. We want you to come back, but we're going to give you the tools so that you can survive and thrive in this new environment. Because the reality is, just like you mentioned with this administration, they're cutting programs. They're getting out of the real estate, building a business of having these large public housing communities. And so we're trying to be proactive and get ahead of that and come up with some creative ways to ensure that we can take care of the folks who live here.
Excellent, excellent. Now, speaking of resources, it's about informing people and letting them know what's going on. You do have something coming up pretty soon.
We do. We have our home ownership forum that the Norfolk Redevelopment Housing Authority, along with the City of Norfolk Housing Department, and other partners have come together. It's going to be at Norfolk State University next Saturday on January the 6th from 9 to 12.
June 6th, okay.
Yeah. June. We're jumping. You're right. I'll tell you, and trust me, I'm not trying to go back to winter.
No.
I'm glad that was over. But June the 6th, in that morning, it'll be from 9 to 12. It's free and open to the public. Individuals can come in. If you've just been thinking about, okay, I don't know where to start, I would love to be a homeowner. This is a place where you can come in. There's no judgment. You get down and give you all the information in their workshops, and then you go from there in their classes that are free to help you get your financing in place. Like, we also offer $40,000 to support you in your down payment and your closing cost. I think it was about a year ago, it went viral. Because people, one of these social influencers found out that was happening in Norfolk, and it was like, wow, it was $60,000 at that time.
Okay.
But those are one of the other things. How can we fund that to help more individuals? Because that could become a barrier to somebody becoming a homeowner. So
Right.
we've got some creative things that are out there, but how can we pull all those resources together to really make an impact?
Excellent. So a year and a half, you said St. Paul's would be done. What does Norfolk look like 5 to 10 years from now?
5 to 10 years, part of that report talked about our two major areas for development, MacArthur Center, Military Circle.
That's a good question.
Yeah. So no matter what, I always tell folks there's going to be mixed use.
Okay.
And you're going to need to have some tax generating opportunities, but also housing. And you'll have everything from subsidized housing to market rate, but you got to be strategic about it. So I would probably say in the next 5 years, you'll see a lot of movement on what happens at the old MacArthur Center site. And also, you'll start to see what's going to be taking place at Military Circle.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, because we've been wondering.
Everybody's wondering. Trust me, I've been in my meetings and folks have asked me, so what's happening? And there's a lot that's happened, even in Military Circle in preparation. But the thing about it is, I remind my residents, the city's not a developer. We prepare sites and make them site ready so that we can lure in a developer. And we really want the developer to put their money on the table and not use a whole lot of subsidized taxpayer dollars, because then that takes away from doing something else. And so we're waiting to get the best deal that we can get for a project that will meet the needs that we need to get in place that'll benefit all of our citizens.
Oh, excellent. And so MacArthur's not going to be a casino.
We already got one of those, and that'll be opening next fall.
Okay, next fall. I was wondering. I said maybe they're going to try to become like a little Atlantic City, but no. Okay.
No, all I can probably say is think Town Center.
Think Town Center. Okay, Town Center was
think
like mixed
reconnecting our downtown, meeting the needs of housing, meeting the needs of sense of community for those who are coming here. One thing that I also push is that Norfolk is really building on its destination tourism, our cruise ship industry,
Yes.
the casino. So we want to lure people here, and that's one of the campaigns. I sit on the Visit Norfolk board too, but it's one of the things we talk about as a region. We have the airport, but it's kind of the door that opens you up to everything from ORF, go to Virginia Beach, or ORF, go, to Chesapeake, or, to Suffolk. But there's something for everybody here. And so destination tourism is a big thing that we're all kind of working as a region. How do we get people here? How can we get them to enjoy themselves and spend their money so that we can be able to benefit and show those resources back in our neighborhoods to benefit those who live here?
And is the idea to make Norfolk, maybe downtown, more walkable?
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you go to cities like
Yeah.
Charleston, Savannah,
Yeah.
and you can just do everything without a car, and those are smaller places. And,
Yeah, I
and
think
Norfolk definitely has that potential.
you have that potential. Honestly, the mall was great for what it did. I opened that mall up back in college. My first job was there.
Okay.
But the thing is that it is huge, and it takes up so much of the street grid. And so I think that there is a concerted effort to see how we can reopen that back up, and something that will complement Granby Street and not take away.
Okay.
And so for those who live here, you can have a good place to come and meet up with your friends and meet up and have dinner, or go get coffee or whatever it may be. But then also those who are coming in, the 8,000 people who come here every week on a cruise ship can come in and have something that they can do and they can also enjoy.
Right, Leah, you live over there. Are you enjoying walking around and going to the restaurants and? Yeah.
I love
You
downtown
love
Norfolk.
it.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to give you
Yeah.
more.
I mean, it's like I feel there's more businesses starting to come out
Yep.
there and more things popping up. So it's you notice the changes.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. And First Fridays is coming back.
Okay, First Fridays, they're coming
Yeah,
back.
they're
That's
gonna come
good.
back.
Want to change the subject and talk a little bit because and we're covering this story today, and you said this happened in your district, and that was I guess it's a triple shooting where a 60-year-old woman has passed away, and this was on Gulf Street. What can you tell us about that incident?
For what I know so far is that there were, and our chief will make more announcements about it, but that there were two young men who were related. From my understanding, I think they were cousins, and they got into a shootout. Over 40 rounds were shot, and unfortunately, the 6-year-old mother, grandmother, aunt passed away as a result of it. And so I know that their efforts right now, team members are meeting right now with community leaders there. And as soon as I finish here, I'm headed over to talk about the resources that we can provide into the community and to that family. But it just takes us back to this it's starting to warm up. It's that summertime. Today's the last day of school here in the city of Norfolk.
Oh, okay.
And so
that's early.
Norfolk and Portsmouth, if I think about it. But it's trying to keep young people, and it's something passionate to me because I work in juvenile justice in Portsmouth. So just, it's senseless killings, and it's just not the individual's not valuing life. And so it's something for me, honestly, that we're going to get out there. We've got Community First, a lot of our community violence interrupters who are there, who are on the streets talking to community. But a lot of times when you see shootings like this, they're gang related. And so we don't want some retaliation. And so a lot of times when you don't hear of another shooting, it's because of our police officer and the hard work that they're doing along with the community group like Community First who are out there, our community violence interrupters.
Yeah, and we've had a couple of incidents. There was I guess the young man in the traffic stop that just happened, and then before that there was the stepson and the stepfather and the lady at the convenience
not
store.
too far down the street from my house. And what I gathered from that one, this was again mental health. You're coming out of May Mental Health Awareness Month, but from my understanding, that young man hadn't been on his medication for over a month. Got into an altercation with the father, and then shot through the screen door, hit his stepfather, and then did not know this woman, this clerk, and got into an altercation with her, argument, and then shot and killed her. And then he committed suicide and killed himself and left his car running. And someone called in because they just saw this car running, just sitting in the middle of the street. So it was just a lot going on there, but it really dovetails to a lot of different things that we're constantly dealing with. Mental health awareness. And the other shooting with the police involved when there, from what I'm understanding there, is that that individual had warrants that were outstanding in Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
And when his estranged wife was contacted, she was like, I'm glad you all were able to catch him because he was on his way to inflict harm on her. And so, unfortunately, he lost his life in that situation there when he, with the officer. But I just tell folks to stay prayed up, but most importantly, we have to, as a community, this is why I really push, especially with mental health awareness and making sure that we have individuals who are on staff to be able to de-escalate things. But some things, unfortunately, we just can't get to.
And when you talk about mental health and these young people, what is not being done? You know, when you think about, you know, people talk and they say, if we only had ... or if we only, is there something that comes to mind that you think is just really needs to be done, but maybe it's too challenging to get done, it's too expensive? What's not being done?
So I think when you hear me mention that our kids are getting out of school right now, and so they'll come back earlier. That was done really to address brain, that
brain drain,
the summer drain there. But it's also a time when we look at, okay, if you don't have a summer camp, if you are, and you know that mom or dad, if you've got both of them in the household, they're working all day and you're home. We have Parks and Rec, we have a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, we can't reach everybody. And if we had more money and we could just say, hey, school stops, but every kid is in a structured program to keep them involved, we could do that. But then I also, serving on the school board, prior to doing this, I'm a strong believer in everything starts at home. And unfortunately, everyone doesn't have a two-parent system, or, I'm a product of a single parent. But a lot of times we have a lot of latchkey kids where they have no adult supervision. And so you have spaces. And so I just encourage that, if we've got, the city can do its part, but if we've got churches and other nonprofits and other groups who are doing things to get those young individuals involved so that they're doing something productive and that they're learning and they're having fun, so that they're not sitting around, for the opportunity for someone to utilize them for something that's bad. And that's where you've been seeing a whole lot of these teen pop-ups now. And it's just, it's something different. I said, I would never thought at my age I'd be going back and saying, well, during my time, but really it is. I would never have thought
it's changed so quickly.
It has changed a lot.
You could be 30 years old and say, well, back in my time,
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately. And then I did see that they did arrest somebody else in the teen takeover, that bizarre event with the fire and the flamethrower and
and
donuts.
it's happening everywhere. I mean, this is a regional discussion. We, in the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission, I serve on that and represent the city there. We talked about it. Hampton has had those issues, and so you have these car meetups, and we had for a while had an issue with the bikes coming down on the street and doing different stuff with the people on the dirt bikes and things. But this is a new crave. It's a new fad that's out there, these meetups. We're even having the challenge in our parks. We've had to step up police presence. We had gotten word. We have literally a team who are scouring social media, looking for these pop-ups and things, just so that we can make sure that we can keep the public safe and that we have the presence there to diffuse things.
Yeah. Gosh, Mr. Clanton, thank you so much.
Thanks.
This has been a wonderful discussion. Promise me that you'll come back.
If you want me, I'm here.
Yeah, we would love to have you back. We have this platform now, and I like it because we're able to, like you said, more context and, talk about things more in depth. So I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.